Hey, Ty Glover, thank you for coming back to the channel. I just want to tie off one more point with regards to experiences layer, because I spoke to it with regards to an evolutionary process on how you had to have this particular one before you can go and have this. Everything changes. There's that momentum in a direction. But I wanted to tie it off with respect to technology and how technology also layers. Again, just like everything else. Layers upon itself. As below, sells above. You need to have the below in order before you can go to the above. So let me just title that one specific point right here. From something. 1G technology. Now, 1G technology was basic voice coverage service. I remember having that big old bag on my arm. Coverage wasn't as bad as you'd think, but it was bad. From that came 2G technology, designed for voice. Really improved service from the standpoint of its being able to make more connections. I would imagine that was also probably because they were putting up a lot more antennas, but nonetheless, 2G technology. They took what they had learned from 1G and they built upon it. It's layered. 3G technology is designed for voice, some data, multimedia. That was the first thing that really started to emerge in 3G technology. You could start to watch some videos. You were definitely doing the texting and so forth. A lot more data was being processed through. The capacity was a lot higher now in the 2000s. So if you're thinking about Moore's law for going from 2.4 to 64 to 2000, it's the extrapolation outwards. 4G technology, that was the fourth design, designed primarily for data and IP-based protocol. So don't really know what that means, but nonetheless, the 4G technology was a lot stronger from the standpoint of the data, what we could actually do with our phones. And then what comes next? 5G technology, 100% more coverage, 100% more connected devices. So it really actually extrapolates out the possibilities of what you can do with that phone in your palm. That's the thing. Everything layers. If you did not have 1G technology, you would not have 2G technology. Meaning if you didn't have the understandings of what was required for 1G, you wouldn't have the understandings of what to do for 2G. Just like Brunelleschi didn't have the understanding, or rather people of that era didn't have the understanding of how to build a dome. It had been lost. So looking forward comes something similar. When you have that idea, you don't replicate that idea. You create it, you add to it, you develop it in your own specific way. No one can replicate someone else's work. You develop your own, and that's the new idea. If you replicate someone else's work, you're just doing someone else's work. So, we build upon our experiences. Now, those experiences cognitively, we're of course building neural connections with respect to the way we're connecting different pieces and the way we're pushing our brain into work in different directions. Especially when you consider time. When you consider time and trying to place different things within different time lots and stretch out the references to other things and really extrapolate that out, it's like playing Sudoku. It really makes you stretch with respect to scale and placement within that scale. Technologically, of course, we're developing the technology right now to be able to take us in a lot of different directions. Daniel Burris, he's a future technologist, and so he does a lot of speaking around the world, speaking to companies about where technology is heading, or rather where we are heading from a trend standpoint, what's happening. And so technologically, he can tell you about 25 specific different trends related to whether it's artificial intelligence or virtual reality or what's happening within the medical device companies, 5G technology, where it's going, and how people are extrapolating out possibilities. Creativity. We're sitting right here talking today. Creativity from the standpoint of connecting more pieces. Culturally, bringing in the cultural aspects, because if you're going to try to be more creative, then it includes experiences. And while you may be looking at it this way, someone else from a different culture has a different orientation naturally, and therefore they're inclined to look at it differently. I love the story about hearing about Einstein, who went to visited some type of a laboratory or something, and he was walking through with one of his assistants, and he came upon this young person who was supposed to give him kind of the tour. And this person proceeded to tell him about different types of technology and how physics works, and he was quiet. He didn't say anything throughout that period. And his assistant is wondering, why is he so quiet? When he finally gets to the end, he asks, why did you not say who you were? He said, because I wanted to hear whether he was thinking about something from a direction I had never thought about. He was waiting because you never know where those ideas can come from. When you look out culturally, you can find a lot of different ways to do a lot of different things. Adaptively. We all need to adapt. We all need to recognize where we are, recognize we cannot continue going forward in the direction that we're going, but yet we can adapt. We can change. We can adjust our environment to adapt to what's coming. That's what we're here to do. So Albert Einstein once said, information is not knowledge. So just because you have the data doesn't make it knowledge. The only source of knowledge is the experience. You need experience to get wisdom. So you have to take that experience, what you see around you, the asymmetrical, really paying attention into those. And then with that, or rather the experience that you have around you, you have to extend mentally. So you need to extend. Or everyone's heard this statement from Steve Jobs. Again, you can't connect the dots by looking forward. You can only connect them by looking backwards. So you have to trust that these dots are going to connect somehow in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it's made all the differences for me in my life. Now, here's the thing. This is what we focus in on. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. What he's talking about are those experiences that he actually had throughout the course of his life that allowed him to be able to gain the understanding in this direction, in that direction, from the standpoint of calligraphy, sound, music, his understanding of that, the creative style, his travels to India, his understanding of Asian culture from the standpoint of the way they move around, the types of devices they would use. You're always grabbing from those experiences. The key thing, though, is that so you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. Again, it's those dots that are your experiences. You have to be able to relate them, and by registering them more strictly, more in a more disciplined way, by getting them consciously registered rather within your subconscious, you'll be able to pull them back up and go to them when you have a solution you need to have solved, and that might be that right experience that can fill that solution. John Dewey, he was an American philosopher and educator. He was part of that big philosophical movement in the turn of the century. But he once said, we do not learn from our experience. We learn from, again, the reflection of those experiences. It's going back directly to what Einstein said. Your experiences are the key to the building blocks from which your ideas emerge. So focus in on those. So thank you for coming again to Think Different Nation. Truly appreciate you. If you like the channel, please subscribe and hit like. Cheers, and see you in the next episode.